Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the FTTC podcast, sponsored by Weight Watchers. Trim the holiday fat from your team with delicious, quick, and easy-to-make drops. We are your home for breaking news and breaking balls in the fantasy sports world. From touchdowns to tailgates, we've got it all covered with a dash of witty banter. I'm your host, Jason Stankiewicz, and today we are joined by one of our three cellar dwellers, coming straight off a big win downstate, Mr. NAZ himself, Brian Durante. Without further ado, let's jump right into our interview. We are joined today by a living legend, the state champion himself, Mr. NAZ.
Yes.
Owners of Roadrunners, NAZ, Mr. Brian Durante. Brian, how are we doing?
We're doing great. 5-time state champion, 1-time league champion, 2-time regular season league champion.
I mean, pretty wild that NAZ pulled it out this year. In a year when you're having such a bit of a down year, someone's still winning on the NAZ side.
Well, they asked me to make the trip down to Illinois State to give a speech during the prayer service. I had done it last year, so I told Coach, got to have somebody else do it this year. But no, we're proud of the boys, the brothers, really. It's a brotherhood. And we're super proud of them. We feel that we've disappointed the Roadrunners (NAZ) name this year. We could talk a little bit about the excuses of what happened, but really, I appreciate the congratulations because it is a great day to be a Roadrunner, as they say, as the saying goes.
Now, would you say that Roadrunners NAZ, are you sponsored by Nazareth Academy, or is this just a bit of an homage, if you will?
There's absolutely no affiliation based on some of the political stances we've taken on league calls. There is definitely no, we want to go on the record here. There's no official correlation based on things that have been said in some of the meetings, and two, what has been shared in the group text from the Roadrunners NAZ. It's simply a tribute to the brotherhood, Jason.
Well, we will note that on record that there is no official connection between Roadrunners (NAZ) and Nazareth Academy.
And again, I could not make it more abundantly clear. No official correlation to Nazareth Academy in LaGrange Park.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's get back to the fantasy football here. So, Week 12, bit of a tough one for you. You scored 105 points, which was, good to take down a few teams in the league. There were obviously some low balls in there, but you went up against Take a Stand, who went off for 164 points. I mean, what was the mood in the squad coming off that week?
Yeah, so Take a Stand is juggernaut. I think we all know that. Take a Stand is very good. What was the Jim Caviezel movie that was connected to QAnon? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea. No.
There was that. So anyway, I didn't know what Take a Stand was, so I thought it had something to do with that. It doesn't. Anyway, that was just a quick aside. Nothing really to do with the question. Take a Stand is really good. We were happy with the 105. And this will probably cover in another one of your questions. We've been scoring fine from where we were at beginning of the season. I think we were double shotgun within the first 4 weeks. We had starting quarterback go down, RB1 go down, wide receiver 1 really go down with Rodgers going out. So that's your starting quarterback and your top 2 draft picks. We've made some great moves. Look, this has been the most fun I've had managing a team, and probably the hardest I've worked on a fantasy team to be whatever my record is, 4-8. It has been a fucking challenge. But we think we're going to be able to avoid shotgun the next 2 weeks, get out of here alive, and then avoid planning this fucking golf trip.
I mean, I think that's everyone's goal right now, at least near the bottom, is to be the one that avoids it. But
that game I had against Shill 2 weeks, did you have that on your list? It was either last week or 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks ago. That was a tight contest.
That was a must win that we lost. our NAZ has prided itself the past 2 years on its defense special teams. I've gotten bailed out many times by like a 20-point defense or 20-point kicker performance. Justin Tucker's been bad fantasy-wise. My platooning defenses has not gone well for whatever reason. And Schill's defense special teams just bent me over that week.
23 points. 23 points he got from the New York Giants against the Washington Commanders.
And then what
really
is
just a tough one there.
His kicker
his kicker had 8 points that week, but the real notable performance in that matchup, for our listeners out there, the final score in week 11 was Auto Draft Bot Squad 102, Roadrunners Parentheses NAZ 99. So a 3-point difference, right? The big detrimental performance to Roadrunners NAZ was Garrett Wilson with negative 0.1 points. Right. 2 catches, 9 yards, and a fumble.
That's the kind of season it's been. That's just a week in and week out. Every week starts, and I am convinced I'm going to be shotgun. This might be everyone's situation because your first quarters usually don't go well. We're bored. There's usually a point every week where we are projected the lowest until somebody scores a random touchdown in a shitty game because most of my players are on shitty team. And that usually just Bijan had, I think, touchdown in the second half last week. That
Bijan, he had a good week last week. I think he had 27 points, right?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, that got us
26 points.
That got us over 100. We had no chance. Like those games, you almost don't even care about. Because you're not going to score 160 points. My team is not capable of scoring over 120 points. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I mean, you might be right, but when I look at your team, it's been formatted, reformatted, and now kind of finalized as the season has gone on. And to that extent, I wanted to get into some of the trades you made because a number of the players that you're throwing out there every week.
Best trade year I ever had.
I mean, from your perspective, are you satisfied with the deals that you've made?
We're never satisfied with 4 and 8. That's just not the standard we hold. But the situation we talked about with those injuries, if we avoid last, we should get manager of the year. Just no one will have ever overcome so much to avoid the basement that we overcame. Again, QB, running back 1, wide receiver 1, and throw in Sky Moore, who was very high on the big board.
A good callback.
Sky Moore and George Pickens, I thought were league winners. Like, oh, fuck, I'll have these two, and then I'll be able to trade half my team because I'll have Sky Moore and George Pickens, and that did not work out. In hindsight, I thought I had literally the best draft of the league. I mean, I had Kupp. I thought Pickens and Sky Moore were going to be really good. I had Chubb, Debo. James Cook has people. No one wanted to trade for him. He's pretty good at fantasy.
He's been decent. He
they
definitely has been
use him correctly. I think he's a way better running back than they use him. But I had James Cook, so my team was stacked. It was in hindsight a lot of high risk guys that did not pan out. Like Anthony Richardson, you knew was going to be good at fantasy, but
he was. To your credit.
He was going to get hurt no matter what. They always do. When I say they, I mean mobile quarterbacks. So that was disappointing to see him go down. What was the question? Oh, the trade. So trade one was we got rid of Debo and we needed a running back because Chubb went out.
Yep.
So
that one you got. I got you getting DeAndre Swift and Chris Godwin for Debo and AJ Dillon.
Yeah, and I don't think AJ Dillon started the game for Strickland Propane. If he did, he never got over 4 points. And then Debo's good, but he kept getting hurt. Godwin ended up being a starter for us most weeks to get the middling 9 points that we usually need to avoid the shot. Again, when the strategy changes from trying to win to avoiding the shotgun, So Godwin is like the perfect player for that. If you are just trying to, because he's not going to get 0, but he's not going to get 20. He'll get.
You want a guy. You want 10 points from every position.
Yeah, on
if
average.
you can get that, you're like
That's
happy.
all you need. Yeah, absolutely. So Godwin was great. Swift was good. I was happy to get rid of him. He could be he's the best player, worst fantasy player. Like talent versus fantasy.
There's so many guys in that team though that are capable of scoring points, and with Jalen Hurts, pilfering all the goal line touchdowns
that we had to get rid of. It was for mental health alone of Roadrunners parentheses NAZ.
I think of the deals you made this year, I think that was my favorite deal. Was the Swift Pitts for Mixon and Kittle. I thought I got 2 solid players out of that, and
that was the other thing. I thought correctly that Joe Burrow would figure it out, and Mixon would start getting goal line looks, which is exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now Burrow is down. Mixon is fucked. Like I think he had 8 points last week, and it was from a 40-yard reception mostly, which is fine now because there's 2 weeks left. But that sucked. Kittle was great. Pitts, I don't know what
Pitts he's been. I don't think he's scored more than like 6 or 7 points.
Like how is he not on the hot seat? Even if they squeak into the playoff and win the.
I mean, their division is so bad. They don't have to be good, right? Like they're going to go probably 9-8 or something or whatever and make it in. Maybe even 8-9 and make it in because they'll win that division because it's just so bad.
Have you seen? I forget. This was like beginning of the season where someone said Justin Fields to the Falcons.
I think they were talking about that with some trades like earlier.
Yeah, that would be sick. Except that coach would fuck it up for sure. Much like the Bears have.
Yeah, the Bears offense. I don't even want to get started on Screenville over there. It's tough to watch.
Yeah, that trade was great. Really fucked Karras over, I think.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Because he had Pitts. Swift maybe will show up the next 2 weeks. I play Karras this week, which is a big one. Loser of that game is it's between us and Shill, so we'll see what happens.
Do you think there's an advantage? I mean, being in the situation that you're in, right? It's essentially a 3-team race at the bottom.
Yeah.
You get some results going one way or the other. It could be more, it could be less. But do you think there's an advantage to be playing another one of the people that's sitting at the bottom with you in kind of the last 2 weeks here, where truly, you win and you're actively detrimenting them? Or do you think you'd prefer to be more in like the situation Schillinger has, where he's not facing
because one of us is going to guarantee a lot.
Right, exactly.
That's a good question. I think where my team is at, and I'm saying this having just lost to Schillinger, I would take my team over either of their teams. So I think I would rather play them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kokoris has a tough week. Nice catch, Blanco Nino. Sorry. He's got a bunch of buys. We feel good about anything can happen, but I like fucking Josh Allen and what's his name on the Raiders are out.
Javonte Adams, yeah.
Yeah. So in that case,
he's got a defense on bye too. So
yeah. So I think you're better off playing the teams.
I mean, the thing is, if you win the matchup against Nice Catch Blanco Nino, then as long as you don't lose the last week majorly, because I think when it comes to points, you're pretty safely ahead of the other two guys.
If I win this week, it's gonna be really hard to get last.
You've got over 100 points on Auto Draft Bot Squad, and you got about 80 points, 70 points on Nice Catch Blanco Nino. So you figure you win this week, you're only going to improve that, differential over Nice Catch Blanco Nino. You're probably safe if you win this week. It could be a win, and you're
win
settled.
And you're out. Yeah.
Not a win and you're in, but a win and you're not. You're not last.
Which again, coach of the year, manager of the year, if that is the case. We've overcome a lot of adversity. When
we do the year-end awards, we'll have to note that.
I'm going to lobby for it. Yeah, for sure. And then the third trade was the Cooper Cup. Get rid of Cooper. Oh, I got Bijan.
Mm-hmm. Bijan, Tyler Algier, and Tua.
I'm not a big look at what's the guy on ESPN that does the fantasy stuff?
Like, I don't know if you're talking about Matthew Berry or not.
No, the other guy, the younger guy.
Field Eats.
Yeah. He said that Bijan was due for a really good second half or something.
But
Trade
he's had a bit of a run
trade
past
low
couple
guys.
weeks.
And
Yeah.
then Cooper Kupp, I don't know what he's done the past couple weeks, but I think he got hurt again.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp has been pretty up or down. I mean, the last few weeks he's just been straight down actually. He's got his last 5 performances. He's got 6 points, 4 points, 6 points, 1.5 points, and 3 points. So,
I would say how unlucky I got with my draft. I got equally as lucky with some of the trades I made, where mostly what happened to the guys that I traded away, not as much who I got. But like I said, it's been a fun year. We're happy that we've been able to overcome a lot. We've had some tough losses over the second half. But really, very much like the Bears season. We just started out looking like absolute fucking shit. And then like getting monumentally better, like going from what the Bears were to what they are, we're still lower than mediocre.
I mean, the Bears are bouncing back a little bit. I think you're right, but I do agree with you. I think all the reshaping that happened over the course of the year, and coming off the initial bad luck that you had, it's been a great job to kind of salvage the season a little bit, because I do think that there was a moment where you were pretty destined for the bottom.
Yeah.
But looking back a little bit, obviously the injuries sucked, and like we mentioned the trades already. But do you think there's been a kind of a singular moment the past 4, 5, 6 weeks where things have kind of turned for you, where it became less of like I'm trying to refresh to compete versus I'm trying to avoid finishing last?
Yes, that is a really good question, because there was a point. Hang on, I'm pulling up my app here.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point when we were thinking playoffs, if you can believe that.
I mean, I definitely do, because I think you lost like there's 3.
It was when I beat you. It was when I went 121 to 115.
So you would have been sitting there at 4 and 5.
I did 121, 115. The next week I won 100 to 83 versus Mike's Lucky Charm. Week 10 was when it started to unravel again. Week 10 we were So no, this was actually when I thought like things were turning around, because I started Josh Dobbs week 10 and he scored 25 points. I was like, fuck, I might be good again. And then again, I got fucked defense special teams. Look at that.
Yeah, Myers, 41 points.
21 Dallas. Myers doesn't score 21, I win that. Like if he just has a normal 10-point game, the whole season is probably different for Roadrunners Parentheses NAZ. Then week 11 really got fucked again by a defense kicker. Without that, I would have gone in to take a stand probably in playoff position. Without a 21-point Myers and a 28-point. That sucks. I didn't fucking realize that. Fuck you, Jason, for fucking pointing that out. God damn.
It's tough. It's tough when that happens. I think when you get situations like that, right, where you get screwed by special teams that's going against you, like if you're playing the Dallas Cowboys in one of the weeks when they have like 3 defensive touchdowns or something, or if you're like Sam this year, who's put up the 3rd most points, but he's got the most points against, and he's sitting there at 6 and 6. Like it's tough to accept those situations mentally, I think.
Yeah, there is a point to, I have been on the winning end of those the past 2 years. Like I think the beginning of last year, I was like 4 and 1 with the lowest points against by maybe 100. It was so some call it DeMar curse, but it's probably just statistics catching up. I
want to get a little bit into how the league has been run a little bit later on, but since we're on the topic anyway, one of the other things that people talk about in the fantasy landscape is some different league structures. One of those is like a median scoring structure, if you will, where you have a matchup on a weekly basis. If you win your matchup, you get a win.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's kind of a secondary set of games, which is really just if you're in the top half of scores, you also get a win. What's your take on a structure like that?
Huh. I didn't even know that it existed.
It effectively benefits people who have a ton of points against. If you're in the top half, you can still come out of the week 1-1, whereas if you have a shit week, you're coming out 0-2.
I like that if you were starting a new league from scratch, then maybe that makes sense. But when we've been doing this for as long as we have, it's like it's in my situation exactly. I've had the luck of it. It's eventually going to balance out if you keep playing it. So I'm against it. It's an interesting idea. I wouldn't like to start that out now because I'm due to get the other end of it next year.
Yeah, fair enough.
What do you think? Have you been in that have done that?
I haven't. I think it's my personal take on it is that I feel it's a bit whiny. It's kind of along the lines of what you're saying. Like I think over time things even out. You have seasons where you get the luck and seasons where you don't get the luck, and it sucks when you're not getting the luck, and it's great when you are. But if you're in it for kind of the long haul, you shouldn't really care about it.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, this season, I have tried to trade with everyone. I have been on text with I think everyone in the league this year trying to make trades, and that is not always the case.
No, I think it's been one of our most fun years in the FTTC. There's definitely been a high level of involvement and engagement.
I think it's all we're all boring now.
It's true. It's true. You sit around and you got nothing going on. Yeah, everybody's getting a little bit older,
because it's probably the most NFL I've watched this year in a long time too.
7 hours commercial-free football. Yeah, I hear you. All right, so we talked a little bit about the injury bug that hit your team earlier in this year, and as we come down the stretch here, I want to give you a fun proposition. Let's say at this point you have the ability to knock any one player out for the rest of the year. You're not actually going to hurt them or anything, but any single player you can say, all right, they're out for the rest of the year on anyone's team. Who are you knocking out for the rest of the year?
Got to be an auto draft bot squad guy, I think. This actually,
I just don't know if there's enough players of value there.
Yeah. Wow, that was a dig. I didn't say it, Shill. I did not say that. I guess Eckler, but he has been sucking. Oh my God, he 6 and then 6.9 the past 2 weeks.
I mean, there's just not a lot of talent on this roster, and like not to be mean, but
I think I would still. Well, let's look at Mike's team. Also, maybe. Actually, I'm gonna pick fucking George Pickens just because fuck him.
You're gonna take your own player out?
Yeah. I wish he got a career. No, I'm just kidding. I would. Let's look at Mike's team. I'll give you official answer here. Nice catch, Blanco Nino. So, like I said, Allen and Adams are on buys this week, so not them. DeAndre Swift. Final answer.
DeAndre Swift, that's who you're knocking out?
Yeah.
All right.
We bank on Eckler being bad, and then... Well, I guess I played Tim the last week, so Spooks is probably going to beat me if I take anyone off his team. Oh, Tyreek?
Nope.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Swift on Mike's team.
All right. Well, we'll see if anything happens to him, and if you're the harbinger of bad news for him.
That would not be good after what happened last year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
much.
true, right? Now, so last thing I want to get into before talking a little bit higher level about the league, we talked a lot about the bottom end of the standings. Let's talk a little bit about the top, and I wanted to run through a quick line maker game with you.
Okay.
So at the top now, we got Take a Stand, Jordy's Ghost, the D's Asters, and myself, who effectively still have a shot at the title, though I'm a pretty deep long shot at this point.
Mm-hmm.
How would you, if you were setting lines on them to win the regular season title, how would you price them?
Oh. Take a stand is like minus 105.
I think that's got to be, right?
I talked to Steve during the Turkey Bowl. I was like, you should have traded one of those fucking running backs, and you could have the greatest team we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have traded Jonathan Taylor or James Conner, well, Jonathan Taylor's doubtful, for another wide receiver, like he would be, because now he has Jonathan Taylor and James Conner on his bench.
Yeah, his team is loaded. It's absolutely
Jonathan
loaded.
Taylor is doubtful. Yeah, and McCaffrey is just it was always if McCaffrey didn't get hurt, he would have been the number one pick over whoever went one fucking Jetta.
Just Jefferson. Yeah.
Jordy's Ghost. Damn, Jordy's Ghost 1301 points. How is Jordy's Ghost team? Have you looked at his roster? It doesn't make any sense.
There's no standout players, but there's also not that many bad players. Like it's just a lot of solid.
I also just in my head assume Ayuk and Pittman suck, and they don't. I think they get like 15 points a week.
They're 2 top 12 receivers this year. It's crazy.
That's probably why I suck. So I guess Jordy's Ghost. I don't know. I'm not even. Plus, what did we have Steve at? Minus 105?
Yeah, minus 105.
Jordy's Ghost maybe plus 120?
Okay.
What do you think?
I can see that. I think it's a little short. I think I'd put him more like a plus 300, but I think that's not doing him any disservice, I would say.
Well, I guess, 6 teams make the playoffs. So.
I'm talking just regular season title, right? If we're talking playoff title, I think we'd have a different set of odds. But
okay. Yeah. I like plus 300 for him and the Disasters then.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And if I had to price myself, I'd put it plus 2,500 or something.
Yeah, you'd have to win out, and
they'd have to. Everyone else would pretty much have to lose out. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Is that even possible with who's playing who?
I think so, but I'd have to double check that.
Yeah, fuck, Strickland Propane could still win it in the playoffs.
I mean, there's a lot of good teams in there. There's a lot of good teams hovering in the middle. It's really a matter of getting into the playoffs, and once you're in, it's really anyone's game at that point.
Yeah.
It should be an interesting year, and as we wind down here, we look forward to having a bunch of people on these podcasts as we get into the playoffs and kind of finishing things out with some interesting conversations and high leverage spots. Before we let you go here, I want to touch on 2 things real quick. First of all, I want to get the Turkey Bowl story from your perspective, because from what have you heard? Just in the group chatter that people lost some confidence in you. You weren't performing up to par. So
So you haven't heard the actual story yet?
No, I haven't. We haven't heard the story.
So I don't remember the kid's name, but it was Collins's little brother, who I think played football. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Collins. I think he's like 26 or 27.
Yeah.
So he was. It was our team. It was me, him, Wendy, and Steve Woods versus Mike, Steve, Tim, and TJ. So I played quarterback, and we were kind of just like fucking around. Like no one was taking it that serious other than Collins' brother. And so we were kind of just like fucking around. Like just, I was throwing deep once every other down. Like we weren't running any plays. And he's like he wore receiver gloves, like going all out. So we were down like 2 touchdowns early on. And he comes back to the huddle. He's like, all right, who's playing quarterback? And I was like, well, I thought he meant like he wanted to play quarterback. So I was like, oh, do you want to like whatever? I don't really try not to get hurt again. I go to, and he's like, no, you play quarterback, but who's ever playing has to take control of the huddle, and we need to start calling plays. And Windy and Steve like kind of thought he was joking. We're like, look around. And it was like, okay, what do you want to run? And then he would call these plays, and he wouldn't run them what he said he was going to do. Like we had some behind the line of scrimmage thing that he wanted to do, and he just didn't. He just I forgot. So we did have we changed quarterback at some point, and Windy played, and then the kid pulled him. He was like, "No, Windy, you're done. Duran's back." So it was interesting to say. I was an absolute liability on defense, though. I was not pulling my hamstring. Yeah,
not moving well.
Yeah, whoever. Because when we played 2 years ago, I yanked my hamstring within like the first 20 minutes.
I feel like I heard about that.
Yeah. So this time it was like whoever I was guarding was going to score or get at least 10-yard reception. I was more than okay with that this year.
Sounds like the boys had a good time. Sounds like they had a good time. But
it was fun. It was a fun time.
Anyway, we got one last one for you. You got an open mic, rest of the league. Any thoughts you want to convey, whether it's on the state of the league or any of your opponents as you go into the final stretch here? Anything you want to put out there?
Great season. We love you guys. Really sad that we weren't able to do a deal with Spooks this year. But we are looking forward to the end of the season for a multitude of reasons. And we're looking forward to 2025.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks so much for hopping on, Mr. Durante, and best of luck to Roadrunners NAZ in the last couple of weeks here. Hopefully you pull it out, avoid the bottom, and don't have to plan a nice golf trip for the league.
Jason, excellent job with this podcast. We are avid listeners every week. We love it. We love what you do. You're great at it. And we can only hope that you do it again next year.
Probably will not be the case, but thank you very much for the kind words. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.
All right.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the FTTC podcast. Best of luck to the league in the upcoming Week 13 matchups. We look forward to recapping them again next time and really starting to drill in on these last stages here as we get into the end game. We have some great battles going on, and it will be fun to recap those results next week. Until then, I'm your host, Jason Stankiewicz. Until next time.